Hello everybody and welcome to yet another episode of Who Knew, the weekly show where we discuss all things pop culture, comic books, movies, games and TV shows and tell you all the things you might not know about them even though you definitely already do. It's a new week and there's quite a lot to talk about, particularly on one subject, and we're here to bring comic book, movie, TV show news straight to your ear holes as we do every single Monday, except for last Monday when we weren't here and we apologise for that. Unfortunately we came to our usual recording slot and there was someone in here doing a live broadcast. There were some problems with scheduling, so our show got cancelled last week. So we apologise for that. I'm Harry, and as ever, I'm joined by my esteemed co-host Matthew.
Let's just try to get through this.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Annabelle again couldn't be here with us today because she got tickets to see Russell Kane down in the city. So she's probably going to have more laughs than we are. So
Yeah.
With the intro done, we're going to go straight into the news. It's just going to be a very quick one this week because we want to get onto our main topic. What have we got this week, if anything?
26th of March, DC had their press conference at WonderCon for Rebirth, which we talked about in kind of the earlier shows when there was just rumours about what they were doing, and then it turns out it's a relaunch and everything. I feel like we covered that on here as well. And that 26th of March was just to announce all of the creative teams for the books. And so ones which kind of exciting, there's All-Star Batman from Scott Snyder, who is like the current Batman writer, and it's kind of like a vanity title. He's going to have a load of different artists with him and kind of being able to do whatever he wants.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Tom King's on Batman, and Tom King has written Omega Men, Vision, Grayson, Sheriff Babylon, like I don't think he's had a bad issue in like his 2 years.
Wow.
Everything else, like everything has been wonderful. And kind of he was what person that people were hoping for at least like the past 6 months.
Okay.
Other stuff, Tim Seeley's on Nightwing, obviously with Dick Grayson, he's back in the black and blue suit. Tim Seeley was on Grayson and kind of continuing that saga. Steve Orlando's doing Supergirl, which appears like it's going to be really fun. Steve Orlando's done some good work on Midnighter, which is a kind of violent but funny book at times. Like, there's a sequence kind of where Dick Grayson's supposedly dead, and then Midnighter spots him and is like, I'd know that ass anywhere. And then final two, Peter Tomasi and Patrick Gleason are on Superman. They did Batman and Robin for the New 52, and that's like, I think that's better than Snyder's Batman run. And then Francis Manapul is doing the Trinity, so Batman, Superman and Wonder Woman in one book.
That sounds like some good stuff. I guess the other kind of news, it's DC based again, is the Lego Batman trailers seem to be gaining quite a lot of traction online. They seem pretty funny. Seems to be set in the same continuity as the other Batman films because he mentions all of them in a trailer.
Did you notice like when the Flash is running, it's just two long bricks for his speed lines?
I didn't pick up on that. Oh, that's great.
Someone said, and I paused back through feeling like, it'll be a frame thing, but you can like clearly see them working like kind of on train wheels.
Oh, that's great. So yeah, that's the end of the news for this week. There,
we've got to push through this really quickly.
Get through because there really wasn't much. So that leads us into the Daily Ridley, which is our not quite daily talk about anything and everything to do with Star Wars. The first piece of news is that Lego have announced the Star Wars Force Awakens game. Apparently it will cover some events prior to the Force Awakens, such as Han and Chewie capturing the Rathtars on their ship and Lor San Tekka going to Jakku, as well as featuring the story that we saw in the film. And they said that major cast members will be returning to voice characters, although at the moment Daisy is the only one confirmed. But
I feel like they'll probably get John as well.
Yeah, I feel like they would manage to get them on board. And the other thing was
the Daily Ridley audition tape, like part of the extras. One of them's called Casting Ray, and there's a small featurette out there, and J.J. Abrams describes what they wanted for Ray. It's like, we need someone who can play kind of a smart character, but someone who's on the defensive, while at the same time like trying to pretend that they're on the offensive, should anyone like ever be the aggressor. And there's a sequence with part of Ridley's audition tape, and it's the scene when she's being tortured
by Kylo Ren,
and it's incredibly powerful, and you can see why she got the gig from that.
Oh yeah, it was amazing.
For someone who was and still is kind of an unknown, like Star Wars aside, there isn't that much. I think there's like an episode of Casualty.
The
fact that she was able to blow people away with that says a lot.
Yeah, she's a real talent, having seen that. And again, very, very short. That brings us to the end of the Daily Ridley for this day/week. And so now, time for our main topic for the week. It is on everybody's minds right now, and that is Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. DC's newest entry into their filmic universe. And
it is a film.
Yeah.
A film is what it is.
I would say it's a crock of shit. It was dear.
It's a complete mess, but we should probably do the cast first.
Yeah, we should structure this rather than just ploughing through. So
so Henry Cavill is Superman, I'm putting that in quotes. Ben Affleck is Batman, Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman, Amy Adams is Lois Lane,
Jeremy Irons as Alfred.
Yeah, Jesse Eisenberg is Lex Luthor. And then Michael Shannon as General Zod, Holly Hunter as Senator Finch. Like, there's a load of people in here.
Yeah, there's a lot of quite big names and faces.
Yeah. Let's talk about what we liked.
Yeah, we'll open with the positives, and I would say there's about 3 at a push. It's
I feel like we're in agreement with that.
Yeah, so I guess my favourite part of it is Affleck's take on Batman. He is amazing. Considering what he has to work with being so poor, he has done an amazing job of bringing this new version of Batman to the screen. His portrayal of Bruce Wayne and Batman are both awesome. He's really dark and brooding, and he's got that tortured because he's clearly been doing it for years, and he's had to come back. And there's some impressive shots of him when he's kind of working his body to go up against Superman.
Oh, the montage.
Yeah, and he's got this look to his body of almost you can't tell what's muscle and what's scar tissue. It's really, really good, and that's my favourite part.
He works well with Jeremy Irons as well.
Yeah, they have good chemistry.
Yeah. I feel like that's the reason that I like Irons, because they have that back and forth.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about whether if you were to take out Affleck, whether I'd still like it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's that kind of pushback on
they work well together
on Wayne's lifestyle that
you can just tell that Alfred has had it up to the top of his head with his antics and his way of doing things, and he does what he's told to do, but he can tell he's just like, don't blame me if you get yourself bloody killed.
Master Bruce, after you there'll be no more Wayne for me to take care of. What am I meant to do?
Stop drinking all the wine.
That is not a breakfast drink.
Oh dear.
Batman does straight up murder people.
Yeah, this is what I was going to say. There's, even for my good part, which is I like Affleck as Batman, there are some bad parts, such as Batman straight up just murdering people.
Like, there are always people that die in Batman films, kind of by proxy.
Yeah.
But here I feel like it's focused on every now and again.
He is the direct cause of their death.
Yeah, like he stabs a guy in the chest. It's like, even if that didn't kill him, it's still inflicted. It's not like he punched a goon and that knife flew into someone else.
Yeah.
And then when he's in the Batmobile.
Oh my god.
So I'll set the scene. Batman's going after the white Portuguese and his men. Men are driving down with a truck. Batmobile's in pursuit. He takes out a couple of the vehicles, but they're firing back and everything. He takes like a detour. The truck's there. I believe there are 3 people standing up. The Batmobile rips through the truck, and then there's a shot, and I'm 99% sure there's only 2 people. Like, that's not an accident.
and then he like grapple hooks a car, drags the car along behind him like a wrecking ball, and then spins the Batmobile around in a J-turn, so this car that had people inside it then flies through the air and crushes another car full of people. Like,
I didn't even remember that.
And he's like dragging this car through the street like it's slamming into walls, and there are bloody people in there. And oh my god. And then there's that bit where he before the warehouse scene where he just straight up flies the Batwing down into an alleyway, and there is some guys in a flatbed pickup truck with a Gatling gun on the back, and he just straight like miniguns through them, and the car goes up in flames.
Yeah,
he literally kills people. And I'm laughing about it not because it's funny, because it's so ridiculous. And that's not what Batman should be, in my opinion. It's not what he's been set up to be.
He has used gun, like in the material that this movie draws from, which is Dark Knight Returns. There's a bit where he shoots a guy with a machine gun. Mm-hmm. It's like that is one of the most seen Batman stories, I guess.
Yeah.
And there's times when he's used guns on occasion, but I feel like it glorifies it. But I imagine we'll get to that later. Yeah, this is definitely like a Snyder movie bit to talk about. When it comes to violence. But Gal Gadot!
Yes, she was good. Yeah. I liked her a lot.
The one time in the movie I smiled is when she gets knocked flying by Doomsday and she hits a car and she smirks and then she's already back in the fight. And the best thing about that is that was all her.
Oh, yes, yeah.
That's not scripted. That's not like a director's thing like, oh, can you try it with a smirk or something?
That was her intuition.
Yeah, it's like I'm not necessarily excited for the Wonder Woman movie because of the Snyder influence on it, but I will go see it because I want that movie to succeed. Yeah,
she was really good. It's unfortunate though that she is used badly as a plot device, but again, her characterization and what she does with what she's given is spectacular.
I feel like you could probably get rid of her from the movie.
Yeah, she is not necessary in this movie whatsoever.
I like her in the fight scene right at the end.
Yeah,
and I like the score that goes with her.
That music.
The things prior. She's kind of there as like same way Monica Bellucci was in Spectre. Like, doesn't do that much. Kind of there to look pretty.
And just push certain things that again aren't really necessary, which I'm sure we'll get to. So
those are positives.
That comes to the positives. So now
less than 8 minutes in. Buckle up.
We're going to go into the negatives now. So I'm going to start by asking you, could you explain the story to this to this film?
Oh, well, you see, it's quite simple. Superman does something in Africa and people are like, oh, hold on. Should we give this alien things? Should we do something? And then Batman's like, knock down my building. I'm not having this.
Yeah.
And then 18 months later, he's finally like, all right,
I better get around to doing that one thing I said I would do 1.5 years ago.
I've been backlogged on prostitutes, but I'm going to have to get to it now. And then they kind of get angry at each other for a while.
That is dragged out.
And it leads to a fight, and Luthor's like, I don't really like superheroes. But then later he's like, oh, my dad hit me. And then he's like, I don't trust aliens, or like, I had no faith in God.
My dad was an alien. He beat me.
And then they fight, and well, shall we accept at this point this is going to be full spoilers?
Yeah, 110%. This is just whack out spoilers, but it doesn't matter because they showed everything in the trailers, like everything.
There are a few surprises, but you have to have been following the movie to know what they're about, I think.
Yeah, and they're surprises because they're bad. Well, bad surprises.
We didn't particularly know how the Flash was going to appear.
Oh yeah.
So I'll start this again. Like, the Flash is in the movie. There's a bit where he like talks to Bruce in a dream, and you didn't realise that was the Flash.
I didn't even realise that was the Flash.
Which thing, like, it's a surprise. I kind of wish they hadn't mentioned something to do with that, like Barry getting having his powers and everything. But you should at least make it recognisable who he is, because it's like it's a rip on his Injustice costume, I think. But then he's also masked by the portal.
Yeah. So
I feel like you see a third to a half of his face, really.
And it's all really obscured by like the wave around the edges of the portal, and it's bizarre because when you see a portal in the DC universe, it's my go-to assumption is Flash.
Yeah.
And I saw that and I went, hang on a minute, that's not even red and yellow. Like, who is this? And it was supposed to be the Flash, but it was a hard sell.
So who else is in the movie? We have Aquaman. Oh God.
Oh dear.
He pops out of his like little sea cave. He floats there for a second like a snake that's been summoned from a basket, and then he hits a drone with his trident.
Isn't it? It's like a bloody snake.
He's got this goofy look on his face, and he's holding his breath.
Yeah, and it lasts like 1 minute and 30 seconds of him just floating in front of the camera, kind of moving from side to side. Yeah. Oh dear.
And then the third one is Cyborg. And we knew that Ray Fisher was going to be in the movie. I did the research when I was writing something up. Is that he was cast in 2014, and I believe we knew that there was going to be like a football scene, or that they were filming one around that time.
Yeah.
And so Cyborg is originally Victor Stone, who was a promising football player, and then he has these injuries. And so, a smart man would put money on the fact that we're going to see him get injured or something.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what I said when we were joking about it a few weeks ago. About the references.
You did.
Yeah, and they'd be and they'd maybe make like a point of showing him being injured, maybe work in a robot reference there.
He's a machine on the field, I think was the words he came out with a few weeks back.
Yeah, I was wrong.
Yeah.
They show him already destroyed. The football game is on a screen which is like
in the background.
Yeah, it doesn't occupy at least like a third of the frame at most. And it shows Cyborg having a mother box used on him by his dad. And basically a mother box is like this kind of new gods thing, which whatever the user needs, it gives it to them.
Yeah.
So in Cyborg's case, he's missing every f***ing limb he has. So it gives him that. And like those would have been kind of interesting post-credit things.
Yeah.
But it's in the middle of the movie.
For no reason.
At the point of conflict. I'm going to jump back a little bit and tell you how they get them. Wonder Woman is in the movie to get something of hers. Luthor has a photo. That's what she tells Bruce Wayne. Bruce is able to hack into Lex's system, get the files, and then while he's waiting for Clark to show up after putting the bat signal on, Diana opens up an email, she gets an email, so it's not like it's just been sitting there and she's opened up a laptop. It's there. She's like, the photo is there. It's like, it's not a photo of yours, it's a photo of you.
Who are you?
Yeah, and she scrolls through every line slowly, and then it's like, guys, we're gonna take a breather. Time to get you hyped with these poorly edited scenes!
And I think the best part about this is that the subject line is called Boys Share 2 and it's sent from Bruce Wayne's personal account, his like bruce.wayne@waynecorp.com.
Yeah.
Like not a secret Batman address, bruce.wayne.
That's one that's connected to his armoured batsuit. It's like, I guess we're gonna be a while.
Just gonna send that attachment.
Oh, it looks like, oh damn it, he's not even coming across the bay yet. I got time.
I can send it.
Come on,
quick.
come on!
And it's
No, finish your text.
And these files for the metahumans that we see the videos on, each of them has the respective logos.
Oh yeah,
So it's
Luthor
got,
has
like,
a great design team.
He's got like the WW for Wonder Woman, the Lightning for the Flash, and these are meant to be like top secret metahuman files, but it's almost like he went to someone and went, if I told you there was this guy and he got struck by lightning and now he can run really, really fast. Now, hypothetically speaking, if this guy were to exist, what logo would you make for him? And it's, oh man. Okay, so I think we should structure this. So I think if we go through kind of
right. Oh, you want to start at the
end,
beginning?
Yeah, and then just so there's some structure, because otherwise we're going to be all over the place.
So,
like this film was, but let's try.
Well, should we mention that? Should we do this bit first? It's a mess.
Yeah.
It's poorly edited. It somehow has very minimal story, but it's so bloated that I don't think it's a 2.5 hour movie. I think you could probably tell that story in maybe 120 minutes at the most.
Yeah.
It felt like I was there for a lot longer than 2.5.
Oh my god, it was. It dragged for.
The smirk is the one moment when I enjoyed myself. Like, think about how quick a smirk is. It's a single minuscule beat, and then we were back to CGI Fest, and I was like, oh!
It's, oh my god. It's dragged out. I don't see how it can pop. Like, there's very little story, but they've dragged it out that much. And I can't remember who said it or where I read it, and it's quite true. It's literally like they've taken 7 years of post-credit scenes for movies they didn't make and then jammed it together to make a film of some description.
It's light on exposition, which normally is a good thing, but not when you can't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
We'll get to that bit in a second when we talk about like the opening Superman sequence. Except when Lois Lane is on screen, because she exists for exposition. I'm surprised like most of her dialogue discussions to me are like, you need to go to Land of Exposition. Land of Exposition, what's that? They'll tell you when you get there.
Oh dear.
So
yeah, let's start from the start and take it away.
So it opens with the funeral, or with a funeral.
Yes.
And it's the Wayne's funeral. Martha and
Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas and Martha Wayne, and it shows Bruce running away, and then it intercuts that with the night that Bruce's parents died.
Yeah, the death
and
scene.
it draws from The Dark Knight Rises in the way that like Thomas clenches his fist and everything, and the way that the gun is like hooked on the pearls. And someone, Matt Zola Seitz, who's a critic, said it best this way: it's like, shout out to Batman v Superman for making Martha fillet the gun before it kills her. Like, this is a moment where it should be horror, like a kid's losing his parents, but it still feels like slow motion and pearls falling and the gun. Oh, look at that gun, look how it shines. I'm a visionary Zack Snyder.
It is. It's very artistically directed, that part where there's a focus on specific things like pearls, barrel of the gun, fist. There's nothing showing the scene or what's happening. You're seeing very, very minute parts.
I had this discussion with someone. It's like the film is missing establishing shots for most of it because I noticed that.
Yeah.
You don't normally notice establishing shots. You might on TV because they reuse them. It's like in the same way like the Flash, if it goes to the Central City Police Department and have like a brief one and people will be walking up and down the stairs. It doesn't need something like that every time, but it still needs to establish the dimensions and the space of the area.
Yeah, which it fails to do
it's
on
like
every occasion.
Yeah, and someone's like, I don't believe you that most films do this. Maybe it's an artistic choice. Can you provide me with some examples? It's like, oh, okay, it's not that easy. I can probably find you a clip and point out like this is an establishing. It doesn't need to come first. Like you can open with a close up and then go to something.
Yeah, but normally at some point there needs to be something to show you the scale and the depth and the size of what's going on.
Yeah. Anyway, so we cut back to Bruce. He's running through. He falls down the well. There are these bats there. It's like, and then they start to carry him up. And this was the first moment where I was like, oh no.
Yeah,
is this real? And then
it's not like the bats are lifting him. They're flying around him, and he's kind of just flying up through the air,
which like could work, but you haven't shown it's a metaphor. Like, for what's meant to be a realistic area... Well, not sorry, like, real, then, over realistic, because it can't be realistic if you're dealing with aliens in Doomsday.
Yeah.
And then it goes to Metropolis during the Zod and...
From Man of Steel, yeah.
The Zod fight. And so Bruce Wayne's speeding through... I use speeding lightly. Like, the car occasionally has, like, this real sense of movement, but the camera kind of tracks wide on occasions.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like it's going that fast.
No, the camera work really misrepresents what's happening. And,
it picks up, like, when Bruce runs into the smoke. But at that point, like, it's had to build to get to that point, and it shouldn't. Like, you don't need it to be a camera darting over everywhere. But I feel like this should be a guy that's running, like, to rescue others. Like, as if he's running for his own life.
Yeah. But this is the thing as well. He's driving through, and you're unsure as for what possible reason. Like, where is he going and why?
Well, he's talking to a guy, and you can kind of establish that that's the Wayne Enterprise building.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's because I know who that guy is.
They show it, and you know it's him. But what I was left questioning is, like, what can he do in his Bruce Wayne clothes? Like, what can he do against a falling skyscraper? Why is he driving there?
Yeah. Also, like, just a moment on skyscrapers, they take quite a few opportunities to mention the building's uninhabited in, like, different instances in this movie. It's like, we get it.
After the backlash, there was there's the bit at the end where they're doing the news broadcast over the big fight at the end, and they're like, "Man, it's lucky that it was past 5 o'clock and everybody's gone home from work." It's a really
it's a really small island that's just uninhabited.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm pretty sure it's uninhabited.
Yeah. After the Metropolis scene, Bruce is like clearly angry at Superman for the destruction that he's brought. We go to North Africa. Lois Lane is visiting a wall. The first thing she asks are you a terrorist? It's like, that's your opening question? Then they find out that the photographer with her is CIA. I'm not going to do the Dark Knight Rises meme of Dr. Pavlov's CIA, because this is Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
No, because it's not. He's in the credits, and I was like, oh, who's this? And then Snyder comes out the day after with an interview saying like, oh, well, no one really had any ideas for him. I'm going to do the Zack Snyder voice that Mark Kermode uses. It's like, well, we didn't really have any ideas for what we were going to do with Jimmy Olsen, so I thought, why don't we just have fun with the character? It's like, if having fun with the character is killing him off unceremoniously, I don't want to go to your house, Snyder.
Let's have some fun, my boys.
We've called Ted Cruz the Zodiac Killer. You're the real murderer.
Oh man, and it's so ridiculous because I saw Jimmy Olsen in the credits, and I was like, did I miss
you think he's in the Daily Planet office or something?
Or somewhere, like, was he in the background? Did they call him across or something? And I had no clue, and it was only after the announcement. But no, they don't even reference him at all.
Apparently,
by name.
It's in the Ultimate Cut. It's
well, that's helpful.
Yep. That'll come later, because I feel like that's how we feel about the slate as a whole.
Yeah.
So Jimmy Olsen dies. Part of the militia is working for Luther, but you don't know this at this point. You don't find out for a long time.
Yeah.
And they gun down the people who would maybe be considered the real terrorists.
Yeah, the African warlord.
The warlord hears all of this shooting, holds Lois at ransom, but Jimmy had a little tracer in his camera. Yeah, and you think that's like how they found him and killed him, because they thought that was a CIA tracer. But it seems like it's something for Superman, although I'm guessing it is actually CIA stuff.
That's so unclear as whether
so
who that's
Superman
for.
bursts through the roof. He's in the room. Lois goes limp, and Superman then charges at the guy, and then it cuts.
Yeah.
And then they're starting to talk about what Superman did in Africa, the Africa incident. I think they actually call
something along those lines.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, And there's a hearing set up, and then eventually Superman goes to testify, and like, oh, we're going to get some answers. We're going to find out exactly what happened, and maybe it's going to be something which is meant to make us go, is that right? And this isn't in self-defense or something, this is aggression. But
and that's another point. He straight up kills him, as far as I'm aware.
There's no way that guy lived.
Exactly. It plowed him for a wall.
Yeah. So what happens then?
After that, there's
a couple scenes with Luthor.
Yeah, and he goes on about the kryptonite. And...
Well, should we go? Like, there's the first one. He's on the basketball court.
Yes.
And Senator Finch and a couple other government representatives show up, and then it cuts straight to his office, but it doesn't do it in the right way. Like, it takes a second for it to register, and then there's no establishing shot to work out where everyone's kind of standing and things.
Yeah.
It's like,
and it goes from one place to somewhere that is very clearly, completely and utterly somewhere else.
Yeah. I don't. The problem is I don't know what the axis of action is. It's like, that's what the establishing shot does. Like, oh, this character's on the left, this character's on the right,
and
then
the camera is going to be on this side of them.
Yeah, and it's not a rule that everyone sticks to. Like, I'm pretty sure David Lynch has laughed whenever someone's mentioned the rule to him.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to still kind of incorporate it when needed so people can understand.
And that they're really lacking in that, especially in this scene. It's particularly noticeable.
So throughout the movie, Lois is trying to get answers about. Basically, she has a notebook with her in the Africa scene. It gets shot. She finds a bullet on that.
Yeah, and it's
and
no
then
bullet
that's her. That tracks down her sub. That's like the start of her subplot, and it kind of leads her through the government and into finding Luthor. While this is going on, Batman's obviously trying to get the kryptonite so he can have a weapon to fight Superman. Superman's brooding. That's all he does. Diana shows up for a few scenes, and that's kind of like seeding a conflict. And it's like, at the end of the movie, she says that she's been away from man's world for 100 years. It's like, you came back for a photo?
Because it's 2016, I would assume, and the photo was taken in 1918. Yeah. So you've been here for 98 years. You've been away for at maximum.
I feel like it then goes to a night scene, and police go into a building. They're searching. They find these. It's a load of people being
human
trafficked.
Trafficking operation.
And they ask who did this, and it's like, no, he's still here. And they hear screams from upstairs. They run up. The cops dash upstairs. There's a guy there who's already got the bat branding on him.
Yeah.
Then Batman's lurking in the corner. It's like, it's an okay moment. I just feel like it's badly directed.
Again, yes. Yeah.
And Batman's able to get away. One of the cops turns, aims for the doorway as the other one comes through. It's an attempt at banter, but it doesn't work.
No, because he's almost killed him. So.
Yeah. I feel like it's still played with a serious tone, which can work, but it just doesn't feel right. I don't know whether that's probably the editing as well. Still, let's see what else is there.
Happens next. This is the thing. Yeah. It's just a constant what happens next, because you've got this list of scenes in your head, but there's no congruity in how they should come together.
Oh, shall we bring up the most arduous example of this? Perry White is looking for Clark in the Daily Planet offices.
Yes.
Can't find him. He's like, what does he do? Just click his heels and go back to Kansas? So we're going to cut to Kansas, right? Nope. I feel like we go to Lois, to Bruce, then to Superman.
A smart thing to do would have been to cut to Kansas at that point. There's, for an example of how this should have been done, you can watch this within 5 minutes. The Avengers, right near the start, where they are introducing you to every hero. You meet Captain America again. Nick Fury comes to him, says he's recruiting him, asks for information about the Tesseract because they pulled it out the ocean, and Captain America says, you should have left it underwater. That scene ends. What do we cut to next? Tony Stark under the water. It's that kind of thing that if you establish something, the next shot moves to that, and they don't do that here.
Yeah. Shall we bring up the moment where my heart sank?
Yes.
So Clark wants to run and ask about the Batman. It's like, I don't fully remember why. I feel like it's maybe to draw him out into the open.
Yeah, he wants to frame him for the bad things he's done.
Yeah. And Perry White says the people don't care about Clark Kent versus the Batman. It's not 1938 anymore. And that line was like, oh, hang on. I don't think you had the same reaction as me.
No, I think I thought I knew where he was going with it anyway.
And so then it was like, oh, hang on. That's a reference. It's a very specific one. It's not a Batman thing. It's Superman's. It's
debut.
Yeah. Oh no, we're trying to do meta commentary here. The guy is Superman isn't everyman, despite being so different. He's the alien that could do anything that he wanted, and he chose to be human. And it's like, no, this isn't it. And there have been interviews since that movie. It's like, oh well, we're getting to the classic Superman, the one with the S curl and the ideals, and everyone's like, no, I don't care.
Yeah.
Because you killed Clark Kent, who is Superman. Just as Superman is Clark Kent, it works the other way. Like, they are the same person. And by getting rid of one of those sides, I don't get how it's going to work.
Yeah, how
and
can
I don't much care to see how it works.
No.
Talking about killing Superman / Clark Kent.
They literally do.
Yeah. Not only literally. It came out on Easter weekend. I feel like that's a strategic move. Like, one of the things is get it the away from Civil War.
Yeah.
Because this movie would make money, obviously. It would not make a lot of money with these reviews.
With
like,
Civil War.
If you can only go see one movie and you're asking, like, oh, do you go see the one that has 44 on Metacritic, or do you go to the one which is probably going to have 70 at the least?
Yeah, I'd say 70 min.
It almost feels like like all of the Jesus analogues are there, but I don't feel like there's anything behind them.
No. And it's, I don't even know where to go. There's so much to say. I literally can't even word to you how much there is wrong with this film. We could just go on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not going to see the film again, so we're not going to be able to do it in every single thing.
Yeah.
But
who knows? Maybe if someone that I know is like willing to buy the movie on DVD, I may do it.
Ugh.
Can I talk about about my Lois Lane thing?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't normally get the thing where people are like, oh, Skylar in Breaking Bad, such a bitch, I wish they'd just kill her, or I don't like Peggy in Mad Men. It always seems to be like a female character thing, and I'm presuming that's because it's like they are the obstacle to the male protagonist in the shows and movies. It's like, like by pure coincidence that they're female and everything.
Yeah.
But that's normally the obstacle because it's their wife or girlfriend who wants them to stop doing that.
Yes, yeah.
I wanted Lois Lane to die, okay? And that's not because of any of those reasons. It's not like it was like, oh god, I just hate her so much. She gets in the way of everything. That's Amy Adams is better than this.
Yeah.
Amy Adams loves this character. She doesn't deserve to go to be used as a plot device. Bruce Wayne builds a spear of kryptonite. He's using it on Clark. Lois Lane saves up. She saves the day. She throws the spear away. No reason why. She's then like, I should get this spear.
We're gonna need that.
So she goes into the water and she almost drowns.
Oh,
why?
My God.
Yeah. I wanted Lois to die so that she wouldn't have to continually be dragged into this.
Yeah, it's. So I'm Lex Luthor. What did you think of him? I thought was pretty terrible. It reminded me so much of Jim Carrey's Riddler. It was really bizarre.
I didn't dislike him, but he didn't wow me.
Yeah, I
kind of get what they were going for. It's because Lex has always represented the times. I think Kurt Busiek on Twitter's been like, oh, in the 50s he was a scientist and he's been a philanthropist and things like that. Like, that's fine. So now he's going to represent the Silicon Valley kind of guy.
Yeah.
But his motivations change from scene to scene.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get invested in him. The scene at the end, once he finally has his head shaved, is weird because he kickstarts Doomsday by using the Kryptonian ship.
Yes, yeah, and combining
and then there's
Zod's body of human DNA.
And then in the deleted scene, he's like, well, the bell has been rung, and you can't unring it, and things like there's kind of allusions to something is coming, like he is coming, he is awake, things like that.
Yeah,
and you're like, all right, I get it because I know what the nightmare sequence earlier in the film was. The symbol on the floor, I know whose that is. Mm-hmm. For general audiences, it's like, well, we finished the movie, here's 10 minutes of setup, and then there's a deleted scene which came out the other day, which goes into detail about that, because he makes this ping 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 sound in his speech, and that's the sound that a mother box makes, the thing with Cyborg.
Yeah.
And he's shown those by a
vision.
Yeah, a vision in the Kryptonian ship. And that's fine, I understand how he knows all of this stuff now, and that was kind of how I was assuming it, but it doesn't explain that in the movie.
Yeah, there's no explanation for it at all. Also in that scene, he's got snot dribbling dates, and it's really off-putting.
Yeah.
He's an idiot in this film. This is my opinion anyway. His plan is so bizarre and contrived, and it's not well put together. This guy is very, very rich and very, very powerful. He tries to get Superman's attention by pushing Lois Lane off a building, and then he gets Superman and he goes, hey boy, I want you to go and kill the Batman.
Because I got your mum.
Yeah, because I got your mum.
She is tied up in these weird bondage photos.
Yeah, and it's really creepy and off-putting.
Yeah, with witch written on it. It's that's what you thought was yeah, sure, you can have her held hostage. Don't degrade her.
Yeah, and he throws them at and it's he really just ruins Martha Kent. And so yeah, he says, I want you to go and kill the Batman. So what I'm gonna set this egg timer, and you got to be back here by then, having killed the Batman. I'm gonna leave you to it to do that. And I'm not going to keep an eye on you or anything. I'm going to leave you to it. It's like a bloody Austin Powers thing. And I'm going to leave you and assume you've done it, bearing in mind this is Superman who can fly around the world in like a snap of a finger.
You'll find that you'll be electrocuted when the random number generator hits 0.
And so he sits there and sends Superman off to fight Batman. And there's just like it's so poorly put together. And then Superman turns up at the end and he's like, you didn't do it. There's just no sense of like a well put together plan, because he's not watching him. He's just relying upon him to do it with an egg timer.
Yeah. Anyway, so the funniest thing in the movie. So the fight happens, it only lasts a few minutes, which is one of the bigger issues, because of the fact that it builds towards this conflict and then it just kind of dissipates.
Yeah, I want to talk about it in a minute.
So, Bruce has got the upper hand, he's got the Spear of Kryptonite I mentioned, and he makes a little mark on Superman's face, he's got his foot on his neck, and then Superman can eke out one word. This one word is Martha. And then it cuts back to the Bruce's parents dying, like not just the thing where Jeffrey Dean Morgan falls over from the gunshot wound and says Martha.
Yeah.
Like, it plays the whole thing, and it's like, so first of all, that's your opening gambit with this. Second of all, why wouldn't you say mum? Like, I get that there's meant to be this connection, and I bet you if that was Chris Terrorio's idea, they were like, oh, Snyder, come and have a look at this! I found a link between them! I've done it!
Stop designing those logos and get in here!
And they, it's like, Martha is the same name. They can connect because they have a common link. But it just doesn't work because of the fact that it doesn't make sense why Superman would say Martha. And I burst out laughing. And
then Batman's like, he's on the verge of killing him, and he says one word, and he's like, "What does it mean? What does it mean?" And it all ceases at this one word, and this is my big issue with this film. Perhaps the biggest. I bought a ticket for £9.50, might I remind you. £9.50, and it's called Batman versus Superman. So what do you expect when you go in but two of the world's most infamous superheroes beating the shit out of each other for, I would say, at least 20 minutes, if not half an hour.
Doesn't necessarily have to be them hitting, it needs to be like a fight with different elements.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Like a pursuit and things like that.
Yeah, pursuit. There is a battle that takes place in action. So they spend the first however long of the movie establishing that they're arsey with each other, but as we said earlier, it takes Batman 18 months to even start training to go out after Superman.
And not only that, there's 3 months passes from the Africa incident to some
so
midway through the movie, and they say that and you're like, has it been an extra 3 months?
Yeah, you don't feel the passing time. So it's been 21 months since all of the stuff happened in Metropolis, and you get this kind of, there's some tension between them, they've said some funny words to each other at a party. The majority of the film is set up by this just battle of vocabulary and them all kind of gently ribbing each other. And the actual bit that, let's face it, no one went to see this film for dialogue. They went to see it for Batman fighting Superman.
That's why it's done well.
Yeah.
Because people like Batman, Superman and Wonder Woman on the big screen. Woo!
Yes, finally, all together fighting. And what do you get? Batman fights Superman for all of 5 minutes.
My issue is that Superman throws the first punch.
Yeah,
like, they get there, Superman's like, I need to talk to you. They kind of square up, and then Superman hits her like, why didn't you speak?
Yeah, why didn't you tell him? It's so terrible. The actual bit that everybody paid to see this film for is just, it's not there. It's 5 minutes, and it's really badly written and shot and directed. It's really hard.
Yeah, we'll get to that in the Snyder stuff.
Follow on to that. But it all could have been solved if Superman, rather than advancing on Batman, if he'd have stood there and went, look, Bruce, there's an issue. He's got my mum. He's got an egg timer. He's given me an hour. I'm really worried it's one of those fast ones, so we got to get on this really quickly. And
can I bring up the metaphor which I love so much? is Senator Finch talks to Luthor during the movie, like, past the basketball scene into his office. He's like, well, you can call it Granny's peach tea, but it's still piss. It's like, you can call this movie a masterpiece. It's still piss. When a jar of piss in a hearing scene gets way more focus than Superman does, you done up!
Oh my god. And
should we finally just talk about the dream sequences and how they feel like purely set up?
Yes, we should do that. Like, I just want to quickly point out that the Batman fighting Superman and the scene where they all fight Doomsday at the end, the directing is terrible. More time is spent focusing on debris and quick panning to try and find the character again than it is on the actual fight.
There's a bit when Wonder Woman gets knocked flying and I think it dolly shots back with her. Mm-hmm. But because she goes through, hits things, and like Doomsday's still there as a mess, and there's like the glowing energy around him, you can't see her.
Yeah, there's no, you can't distinguish characters from rubble.
Like, I don't even think it's shaky cam. I don't think there's ever an instance of that. It's just that it's framed incredibly weirdly, and yeah, like for a movie which is meant to be, well, we'll be discussing whether Superman was justified in his actions, to then go, let's blow up the hearing. We're going CGI fest for this last thing.
Yeah.
Get the discount cave troll.
Oh dear. Yes, so let's go into dream sequences and stuff, because
they don't need to be there. I admired Warner Brothers and DC for going, we can't take that long to set up a film universe, let's jump into it. Mm-hmm. I don't like the approach, because it seemed like, I believe the Wonder Woman photo was something that was added while they were breaking story for Wonder Woman, and Patty Jenkins was in camera tests, and they added that in. Like, it's things like that, like they've gone kind of forward and worked out supposedly this grand plan, and then worked backwards.
Yeah.
Like, it feels more like, yes, we need that and we need that, because we've just realised it's missing.
Quickly, put them in now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then like the nightmare sequences specifically, maybe it'll have more significance after the Justice League movies and whatever Flash is referring to.
Perhaps, yeah.
But that's the problem. A movie can't just be set up.
No.
Like, Iron Man 2 gets a lot of flack because it does a lot to set up Avengers. There's still a story in there, and I still not necessarily enjoy the whole 2 hours and 20 minutes or however long it is, but for the majority of it, I'm happy I'm watching it.
Yes, yeah.
With this, I didn't.
No, not at all. And this is the point. It's something I've argued with a fair few people on, is the fact that this movie is purely set up. It's not a movie in its own right about Batman versus Superman. It's a movie that is trying to cram in what Marvel have done in 6 years into one single film. So it's all set up with a little bit of focus on Batman fighting Superman, and that is the problem. And people are defending it on this reason. They're going, oh, well, it wasn't that great, but that's because it's supposed to be set up for the upcoming films. That's not an excuse.
No.
Make it a film in its own right.
Finally, I'm really unhappy that they took from the death of Superman, because I don't know at what point you go, we have all of these great stories, we'll go with something which killed the comics market in the 90s.
Yeah, flat out.
Clark doesn't die for humanity, as people have argued. He dies because Lois is his world.
Yeah.
Why couldn't Wonder Woman use the spear?
Just past the... Yeah, because of the three people there's 2 metahumans and 1... very muscly man, right? Obviously he can't do it, but he does a bloody good job of kind of getting around despite what he's up against. Superman can't carry kryptonite, alright? So what you do is you go, oi, get over here. There you go. You're the one who can do this. Get up there. Finish it.
You've shown Wonder Woman as agile. Surely she can avoid the bone protrusion going through her.
Exactly. And you've seen her get booted through concrete and then smirk, get up and go straight back
in an
into
instant.
it. They've established... this is another problem with how bad this film... They establish her as a complete powerhouse who I assumed would be the one to finish off Doomsday with kryptonite because of that obvious issue.
Yeah.
And then they never capitalise on it.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
Yeah. There's weird things like why Superman can't hear Martha's heartbeat in the same way he can hear Lois's in the middle of a fight.
Yeah.
Like, it just breaks its rules, and I think now we should move on to the Snyder discussion. I'm not seeing Justice League.
No. After this, I will not be seeing Justice League.
As a whole, with the DC universe, if Suicide Squad is bad, I will see Wonder Woman because I want female-led movies to do well. Mm-hmm. And that's it. I will find other means, not necessarily not paying for it, but I will wait for it to be cheap, or wait for when I won't be counted towards the box office in a dramatic way.
Yeah, or for it to come up on a streaming service.
Because
or something.
I didn't hate Zack Snyder when it came to Man of Steel. I was largely apathetic.
Yeah,
I was I'm not too happy with him killing. It depends where they go with this.
Yeah, Man of Steel is just a film.
I hate Zack Snyder now. I don't know why we keep defending him. He doesn't have a visual flair. He has an aesthetic where he forgot to turn off the sepia. There's nothing more to his movies. It doesn't look pretty to me at any point. It feels washed out and grainy and drained. And I don't know why people keep giving him chances.
No, just get rid of him. Get him off.
Yeah. And the worst
films.
thing is, it's not going to happen because Justice League starts filming in 2 weeks, I want to say. Probably less.
Wow. So they're just going to keep him on because he's made money. This has made money. That's the shocking part.
I've now heard rumours that like Part 1 and Part 2 are like just that in name. And it's more like, it's not like Justice League Part 1 ends on a cliffhanger and then Part 2 will pick that up. I've heard it's more just like as a connection to show that it's fine, which is like, oh, maybe they can get someone for Part 2.
No. Oh.
Yeah, because I was also thinking about this, is that the day that Batman vs Superman was announced, it was on a Saturday, it was San Diego Comic-Con 2013. It's Age of Ultron, there was a ton of other stuff, and I realized, like, fine, I'm going to start getting into these movies, I'm going to get into comics and things. So it's like, this has been part of my, like, a defining moment in my life.
For jumping on board with this stuff. Yeah.
Like, I've kind of followed it since its inception, and I hate it.
Yeah.
I got angry. I was shaking in the theatre with how angry I was at it at the end.
Yeah, I noticed that.
I don't call out at movies. I did.
Yeah, I specifically remember at one point in the film, it was something along the lines of, "What is this shit?" It was something to that effect.
Yeah. And it's not just us. Like, I'm not saying it's wrong for you to like the movie,
even though it is.
Well, like, you're entitled to your opinion to like the movie, but I think it is objectively bad. And the majority of people I see liking it are like either, well, the critics, they were too harsh on it. No, they weren't harsh enough. Or, well, pacing and editing issues aside, no. Key parts, when it can't do what a film sets out to achieve and tell a narrative, when it has 4 or 5 chances to do that, and it can't even vaguely accomplish one, it doesn't deserve your time.
No.
Zack Snyder doesn't deserve your time. I Want to Be the Flash, go back in time and tell people not to go see 300 because it's their fault.
They started this train.
They went, oh, we can bank on this young upcoming director.
This is how you know it's a bad film, in that a film is a visual telling of a story. This is a visual telling. It's not a story. The story is not there. I will not see. I cannot see Justice League. But if by some miracle, and God only knows how they'll manage it with him on board, f***ing hell, is if the reviews come out and they are like, this is a marketed improvement, they have gone above and beyond to fix what they did, I will then go and see it. But I highly doubt that will happen. I think this is just going to be more of the same.
Even then, I'm not paying like full price. I'll wait until tickets are a little cheaper.
Yeah, wait until it's on the back end. It's
like, I feel like it hurts to say that.
Yeah, that's how bad this film was.
I was giving it a 3 out of 10 when I walked out. 4. I was saying like, oh, maybe I'll give it a 4 when I wake up tomorrow. Yeah, I'll have found something. Like, no, I went down. It's at a 2.
Gone down. It's 2. When I first heard about this 3 years ago, that's when they announced it, wasn't it? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm so excited. This is the big boys. This is one of the defining moments in comic books. We're gonna see it on the screen, and I was excited. Then as time went by, there were various setbacks and rewrites, and I think the big point where I was like, something's up with this, is when they moved it away from Civil War. I understand that going toe-to-toe with a Marvel film for any film is a bad idea.
Yeah, if you succeed, fair enough. Like, you've done your job and you've proven your worth.
Yeah, but I think with the idea of Batman vs Superman, you've at least got a 50-50 split. So the fact that after all of the news of rewrites and people being bought in, I was like, oh no.
Well, the thing was,
and then that move came along. I was like, that is the nail in the coffin, and I moved my excitement to cautious optimism.
Yeah. Well, the thing was, like, the rewrite was by Chris Terrio, the Oscar-winning screenwriter.
Yeah. How did he produce this?
My theory is David S. Goyer still has a credit on the screenplay.
Okay.
And for that, part of your original draft needs to remain, in the same way that Edgar Wright and Joe Cornish are on the Ant-Man one.
Mm-hmm.
So my understanding, or theory, is that Snyder, and the execs had a list of everything. They made that, and then Affleck was like, these lines don't sound right. And that's when they brought in Terrio, and maybe under the impression that he'd be able to
fix it.
Yeah, but I think he was only given the chance to do a dialogue pass.
My issue is, I went from cautious optimism to, as you may have heard in the last few episodes of this, I allowed myself to get swept up in the hype, upcoming DC film roster, and I was like, yes, this is going to kick everything off into an amazing Marvel competitive universe.
Because we're hearing good stuff. I mean, people have been like, oh, wait for the ultimate cuts and it'll fix a lot of things. Snyder's comments last week were, it's mostly subplot stuff. So like, there's a little bit of extended Africa chase, a little bit of the Doomsday fight, which we scrapped because it can't be R-rated and things like that. And then apparently somehow there's a narrative that it's going to change the movie and affect the pace. No, it's not. It's going to make it worse. If it's all of those things, the movie does not need more subplots.
Yeah.
but don't promise that this is going to help anything.
Yeah.
If I don't think anyone has yet who's worked on the movie.
No.
But if they do that, I'm still not buying it. I'm going to wait until the DVD comes out and people are going to be like, so here's what's different.
It's just maddening how spectacularly bad this film was.
It's one of the reviews
worst ones I've ever seen.
I think it may actually be the worst movie I've seen because I don't go to see bad movies.
Yeah.
The only one that I've ever been like, oh, it was with Fantastic Four last year. I didn't in the end. That final fight, like, Doomsday is just a mess.
It's your best. Yeah. And the Batman versus Superman bit is short and terrible. Oh, excuse me.
I don't know how they did it.
I don't know how they got away with it. With the cast that they had. If I was playing one of those characters, I'd have been like, what is this?
I have a
Get in there and change it.
I'm betting that Affleck brought in Terrio, and then during the time that it was being rewritten, Affleck was maybe signed for more movies or something on the faith that it would be good.
Yeah, because he's doing these 3 solo Batman films.
I feel like that's the thing that was promised, maybe, and now he can't get out of it.
Yeah, he's stuck there. But speaking of those 3 Batman films, it's the one bit of promise that I've got left with this universe. I've given up all hope in everything. But seeing Affleck's performance, and in particular the warehouse fight scene, I had issues with that. But it's the best action scene in that film.
Yeah.
By a long shot, and it's dynamic, and Affleck is amazing as Batman throughout with what he's given anyway, despite the issues I have with him killing people. But maybe they can explain that away at some point. I don't know. That was good, seeing that. So if we could have more of that without any input from Snyder, so we get Affleck and Irons in their own film. Maybe even have Affleck direct it.
I think that was the deal that was struck.
Okay, because that leaves me with even more promise then, because he was a good Batman. He's a good director. His films that he's done are good.
Town and Argo.
Yeah, so you put all that together with him leading it, because he loves Batman as well. Yeah. Batman, he's always wanted to play Batman. The reason he played Daredevil was because he thought he would never get to play Batman, so he might as well go for it. Now he's playing Batman, and he's done a good job. So if you give him creative control essentially over that, I feel that it could be the one redeeming thing this has left.
Yeah, people complain that Marvel movies are made by committee, which, like, to a degree they are. Kevin Feige is like, if anyone can be considered an auteur of that,
it's him.
Yeah. With this, it feels studio made.
Oh, 100%.
The insert of the Justice League members, like, on those small little files.
Yep.
That feels like it's like, we can't put this anywhere else, guys. We need to have this here.
Yeah.
Because people are going to be getting bored by this point because it's a 2.5 hour movie. We need something to get them invested. Someone said that each of those clips is like 2 minutes. You take 6 minutes out of your tension building narrative that's driving towards the climax. Just take a break.
Yeah, to take a break and play these unnecessary clips. But that did just reek of studio interference, that bit in particular. It's like, oh yeah, Tony up in head office says we've got to put it in somewhere, so just put it in.
Yeah. And people have been like, oh, should we really be blaming Snyder for the edit? Yes, because this isn't the 30s when directors were locked out of the edit. Like, John Ford used to only film one take of each of his scenes.
Yeah.
Because then they couldn't do anything with it. It would be his movie. With this, Snyder probably filmed, 100 hours of footage, probably. Based on how long it takes to film a movie. Yeah. So he's chosen this stuff, and then he's been in there as it's happened.
Yeah, he builds the film.
Yeah. And then they've had to sit there for presumably 8 months, knowing that it's not as strong as it could be.
Yeah. And they still let it come out as it was.
Yeah. When Kevin Smith, the DC EU's hype man, is like, I didn't really like the movie.
Yeah, there's an issue. How they sat on this with this film being so, well, as it is, it's just shocking. Utterly shocking.
I wrote 3,500 words on this movie for a website.
Yes.
And so...
Which is on our Twitter, by the way. Go and check that out. It's good stuff.
Thank you. And so the reason I did that is because at the time that I woke up and wanted to talk about the movie, people who disliked the movie were just hating to hate. So by laying out every issue I had with the movie, it's like, look, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not just hating on Snyder now.
No, this is not a blanket statement. You have dissected it.
Yeah. And people have been like, oh, well, you went in expecting to dislike this. No, I didn't. Like, the second I sit down in the theatre, I purge that stuff from my mind. And it says a lot that when the bats were, like, moving upwards, and I was like, oh no, this is not what should be happening. People have told me, like, that review has hit the nail on the head. And then other people who like the movie have been like, oh, well, this is a bit over the top, isn't it? Stop doing it!
Yeah.
Like, it's fine for you to like the movie. Your opinion is still valid. Mm-hmm. You're allowed to like it. You can't then be like, oh, why are people criticizing this? It makes no sense. Or you're not allowed to.
Yeah.
You can't then go like both extremes either.
No. You need to have
that's not hating...
your opinion and realise that there are others out there. It's ridiculous. Like, there are people who are unapologetic in their support for this film, and for what possible reason, I do not know. But I got, unfortunately, baited into arguing with someone on Twitter. I posted my thoughts on the movie briefly after coming back from the midnight premiere. I posted, very reasonable, informed by the degree I'm doing in film, and Christ only knows how long I've been interested in this stuff. For as long as I can remember, I've had an invested interest in superheroes and comics and stuff. So I'm pretty well voiced in what I'm talking about, and I would like to think that I've got, at least, whilst my opinion can be extreme, I'm not going in there to, you are all wrong if you don't believe me. It's just my opinion. Mm-hmm. And this guy came into one of them, he was like, why is it bad? Explain. So I started to go into more detail. I listed more things that were wrong with it. Back and forward with him, and then I went onto his Twitter, and he had hundreds of tweets with explain why was it bad to various different people. So what he'd done is gone into the Batman vs Superman hashtag, found anyone who was saying negative things about the film, and then tried to bait them into an argument, because he is unapologetically supportive of this film. There was at no point any comprehension of, oh yeah, I can see where you're coming from, or I understand your opinion. It was just, you are wrong for not thinking this film is great.
I don't know what it is about this movie. First of all, people tried to make it Criticsgate, and I bet everyone was bored off. By Marvel and Disney. Spoilers. Marvel didn't need to pay anyone to give this a negative review. Warner Brothers was able to accomplish this by themselves.
All by themselves.
Yeah. Says that, then there's this is just a conspiracy, and they went in expecting a Marvel movie. No, when they said it wasn't fun, it wasn't like, this isn't quips and jokes. There are jokes in there, and I think they're probably funny, but the rest of the movie beat me down.
Yeah.
It's a chore to sit through.
It really is.
I'm never gonna see it a second time, probably.
Oh, no way in hell.
I maybe considered the idea, on Saturday or something, and then the second I thought about it, in the same way that I thought about rewatching Man of Steel before going to see Batman Superman, I was like, no, I can't do it.
No, I can't bring myself to sit through that.
Yeah, I can't sit through those 2.5 hours again.
No way. I was sitting in there. I don't wear a watch, and I don't like to turn my phone on in the theatre.
Yeah.
But there were points in there where I was sitting there going, all I want to do is check the time, see how much of this I've got left to suffer through. It's just, God. There aren't enough words in the English language to appropriately describe how terrible
this was. What I will say on this is that when we walked out of Star Wars, everyone was talking.
Yes.
With this, we walked past the cinema and no words about the movie. You have no words in general.
In general, yeah.
Yeah.
And I noticed that. But now you've made that comparison. It's just, I've thought, Star Wars, everyone was buzzing. There was chat everywhere, and we came out of that and it was very quiet. There were a few people kind of chatting in small groups like we were, but there was no tangible feeling of elation.
There was no energy.
No, at all. So I think, that just goes to show, doesn't it? It should have been a filmic event the likes of Star Wars was, because this is a massive, or should have been a massive film, and it wasn't, basically. Ugh.
The best Snyder movie is Dawn of the Dead, because James Gunn wrote the screenplay.
Yeah. A good director and a man who understands what a good film is. Yeah.
And character. And editing and pacing.
Yeah.
And tension.
Everything to make a good film. Yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy. Good film.
I don't know how we end this now.
Yeah, it's just bad. Don't see it. That would be my honest to God.
When 10 Cloverfield Lane is showing in Zootropolis, go see that.
Yeah, go see that instead of this. 100%. Cloverfield Lane is great. Go and see that instead. Well worth.
I feel like I've already told you too much by telling you it's great.
Yeah, we won't spoil anything else besides that. It's good. That brings us to the end of that absolutely damning and crushing conversation.
May we never have to come back to it again.
Batman vs Superman is a steaming pile of shit. So no point doing any letters this week, because yet again we haven't got any. So I'm thinking of just shutting that section down until we actually get some letters. Yeah. We shall now go into our weekly recommendations, where we tell you all the things we've been watching, reading and doing at the moment, and just to give you some recommendations of what we like, what you might like, and to catch you up to speed on what we've been doing. So I have watched Daredevil. We were going to talk about that last week.
But obviously technical troubles.
Yeah, technical troubles meant we missed it, so we will be talking about that next week. But I have watched all of that. It's good, but we'll leave that. I have also been rewatching Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, because I'm 14. Yeah, that's bringing back a lot of old memories. I think that's actually it for what I've been watching. In terms of what I've been doing, I have been, thanks to Yu-Gi-Oh!, been reconstructing some Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks and working on getting back into that, because this just left me with a hankering to play some Yu-Gi-Oh! So yeah, I'm thinking of, I don't have much money, so I can't go in and build a new deck, and I don't want to build a new deck, so I'm trying to work out how to best utilise my two decks of choice, which are Crystal Beasts, for anybody who cares, and Madolches. These are both low-tier decks that aren't too powerful and have kind of lost touch since the years they've kind of been almost retired. They're still entirely playable. It's going to take a lot of work to get them to the point where they're competitive again, but Madolches are constantly getting new cards, so I think I'll be able to do those easily. Crystal Beasts is more of a challenge because they're not so easy. They have a lot of unlocked potential, so I think if I can tap into that and construct a deck around it, I might be able to get something going. And in Japan, they have released new support for the Crystal Beasts, which will be able to make them, sort of bring them into the modern playable era. So I'm working on that, and I'm looking forward to being able to play again. I'm looking for like a local tournament league type thing, see if they got anything to do with that. So that's about it from me. Anything?
Watching Person of Interest to be caught up for the 5th season, which ends June 13th, so I'll either be caught up for the start of the 5th season in May, or I'll be caught up in time for the finale. iZombie's coming to a close in like the next couple of weeks. Again, dominoes are falling down, everything's been put in place. Brooklyn Nine-Nine has like 2-3 episodes to go for the rest of the season. It's still...
Love that. Such a good show.
It's still funny. I finished playing or replaying Luigi's Mansion 2 just like as a really kind of quick thing. So I still think that's a very strong game, although at the same time towards the end it was just more like I need to finish it now, so it's out like a little bit out of the way, and I can go back to it and kind of finish it up. Kind of as in like 100% wise when I have time to go, that final essay to do. When I go to see Fury Road again yesterday, like that's still a masterpiece.
Good film. Really good film. Yeah, deserved every Oscar that it won.
I think that's basically everything.
Oh, I forgot. Talking about games, I've been replaying Pokemon Heart Gold. That's fun. I think I played that when I was around yours the other day.
How far are you into it now?
I've put in about another 2 hours. I'm in whatever the next town is. I can't remember. They all blow into one. I don't know. I'm into it. It's, I don't know, my playtime in it is like 7 hours, but I think I'm on like the 3rd or 4th city. I put a lot of time into training up.
That says how it works in X and Y, because that's really weirdly paced.
Yeah. I would say with that brings us to the end of the show for this week. Thank you for listening, everybody. We are Who Knew. We go out every Monday for an hour on CSRfm, 6 till 7 p.m, and then upload the full episode online afterwards to iTunes. You can find us on there by searching Who Knew. Please leave us a review. We really, really need those so we come up higher in the results. And we're also on YouTube too. You can find us by searching Who Knew Podcast, although something went wrong with that and I really need to figure it out. You can find us online on Facebook and Twitter by searching Who Knew Pod, and the three of us are also on Twitter as well. You can find me at BTDoobs, BTDOOBZ. You can find Matthew at
Matt_Sibley.
And you can find Annabelle at Unsatisfied, although I'm sure she would maintain at this point not to follow her. Don't forget, you can email us here in the studio at whoknewpod@gmail.com. As always, we're begging for letters. I've basically cut the letters section out now because it's bloody pointless. And if you forgot any of that ridiculously long list of links, just remember that you can find all of this information and more on our official website, www.whoknew.podbean.com. Thank you for listening, guys, and we shall see you next week.
Please don't see this movie.
Yeah, do not do that. Bye.